all known that couple. They were together for years, seemed solid, always showing up for parties hand in hand, posting sweet pictures together on social media, posting photos from holidays. Maybe they even were married or were planning on having kids. They live together and everything seems fine. And then one day, all of a sudden, they break up. Just like that. No big scandal, no visible drama, just a quiet announcement. And within just a few months, one of them is already in a new relationship or even married to someone else. How does that happen? How can something that looks so stable suddenly dissolve? And more importantly, how can we understand the patterns that lead so many relationships to fall apart? That's exactly what we are exploring here today. Hi, my name is Natalie and welcome to my channel. Here we're all about finding the meaning in the complexities of our modern life through psychology, philosophy, and a bit of curiosity. If you want to support this channel, please leave a little like down below and subscribe if you have not done this already. I would really appreciate that. So this video is not just based on personal observations, although I'll share some of them too, but also on actual research. We'll try to understand what makes people break up, why we can suddenly be super dissatisfied in our relationships, and most importantly, what can we do with that? How should we even react to this? So if you've been heartbroken, confused, or just genuinely curious about why so many couples fall apart, this video is for you. Part 1. The myth of everlasting satisfaction. People die, relationships fall apart. We all know that, but deep down, many of us, my past self included, still hold on to the silent expectation. If this is the right relationship, satisfaction should always stay high. That love, once found, should feel the same day after day, or at least should feel very nice. But this may not actually be the way it works. According to the study published in 2024, relationship satisfaction naturally declines over time. Even in long term, couples who don't necessarily fight or break up. This decline isn't always obvious. It's not always explosive. Sometimes it's pretty subtle, slow, and confusing. Personally, it happened to me many times, especially before when I did not know what was going on. For example, there was no major issues. Nothing really changed, except that one day it just felt like something was missing. And I remember thinking, is this a sign that we should break up? Does this mean that this is not the right person or it's not working? But actually what I was feeling was completely normal. The slow decline in satisfaction usually isn't even about cheating or fighting or having a major problem. It's not about betrayal, it can be about small things. Chronic stress, unmet emotional needs, the fading of novelty, or just the heaviness of routine. And one other factor that we should not ignore is cumulative stress. Stress doesn't always affect one day, you know? It builds up. When left unaddressed, everyday stressors like work, finances, health issues start spilling over into the relationship, slowly eroding emotional connection. I'm pretty sure this happened to a lot of people when life gets really complicated sometimes. You do not have any emotional capability to be there for other person, and when it's a relationship, we're so vulnerable with each other and we cannot always communicate, so sometimes it leads to some kind of disconnection between the two of you. At least that happened to me. You're not really mad at your partner, you're just exhausted for one reason or another, or emotionally unavailable, or too distracted to connect. This is actually what seems to break down most of the couples. But here's the key, it doesn't mean that all relationships are doomed. Relationships fluctuate. The satisfaction levels change. I'll try to include this graph that shows actually the levels of satisfaction across ages of people and also compared to how long they they have been together. I think it's very interesting because I've been in a relationship for like 10 years. For me personally, this is kind of what happened. So this is the case for a lot of people. All this is completely normal actually. The most important thing is that you communicate, and when you're experiencing stress or you're dissatisfied, like the number one rule, and we all know that, have to communicate and say to the person that you love that you're experiencing some things. Part 2, the illusion of the one. Another myth that I think quietly damages many relationships, especially nowadays with social media, is the idea of the one. But honestly, it's been there for ages, for centuries. It's been there in books, in movies, in media, everywhere. It's the idea that if we find the perfect match, everything will click and the love will maintain itself. But the data actually tells us something else. In the same study, researchers found that even the same person experienced different levels of satisfactions across different relationships. It means that you can be satisfied and dissatisfied to the same extent in different relationships. So the fluctuations will be there regardless of the partner. I think this suggests it's not really about finding the one. I do think that sometimes we do tend to connect more with some people we like more, some people it's completely normal, it's fine, but it's also about working on the relationship together, and it's also about what you build up with this person. Maybe I take this super personally, but I see this thing pushed over TikTok and Instagram that if you're feeling dissatisfied, if there's something that you don't like in your partner, that you should break up. It means that your relationship is really doomed. It means that it's not the one. It means that this is a bad relationship. And sometimes it is the case. Let's not be delusional about this, but it doesn't mean that it's always the case. It doesn't mean that if you're dissatisfied now, or if you're not super happy with something in your relationship or with your partner, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to break up. It does not mean that it's not working at all. It can be just one of these periods when things are not so good. And what to do with it, it's completely your decision and it's your responsibility. It's not to be told by some people on the internet. You might also think, if this person isn't making me happy anymore, then someone else will. And sometimes, yeah, that's valid. Some people do make you more unhappy and they're toxic or whatsoever. But also, often people leave relationships just to repeat the same pattern in another relationship because they never actually understood what was causing the dissatisfaction and what was the problem. Really super easy to blame on the other person. I'm not saying that you should blame yourself. You shouldn't. But you should be more mindful and open to see like what's not working. And sometimes it is the problem of the other person, and sometimes you realize that, well, I want someone who will be like that and not like that, and this person is like that, so it's not working, you know, it's fine. But before jumping into something new, you may ask, was it really them, or was it how we handled the discomfort, how we handled the dissatisfaction, the change, the distance? Because otherwise you can keep chasing the same high while not being able to figure out how to deal with the satisfaction that will eventually, at some point, you will have a fight or whatsoever, and you have to know how to handle this. Part 3. Communication is necessary, but it's not enough. We've all heard this. Communication is key. And yes, it's clear, it's super important. Honest communication and being able to say why you are unhappy is like the first essential step to a healthy relationship. But here's something that might surprise you. It's not the whole story. If you're able to communicate your problem, doesn't mean that you know how to solve this or how to really work on this. According to this 2024 article in the Psychology Today, positive communication is strongly linked to immediate relationship satisfaction, but in short term. In short term, it really matters. When it comes to more long-term happiness, communication alone doesn't guarantee you anything. Why? Because what really keeps a relationship alive for years goes deeper beyond what we just say. It's also a lot about the unspoken things, about shared values, mutual respect. I think respect is one of the most important things, and I think this is why most couples also also break up, because it's really easy to lose respect to the person you see every day, especially, and to the person you know so well, and you know all of the bad things they have and the good, of course. And it's just super easy to lose some respect. It's also about emotional safety and how we perceived our partner, because again, I see a lot this message that is so targeted at having your own perspective and just thinking about this. What I mean is that, well, you're dissatisfied with your partner, it means that they have a problem, it's not you, because your demands are completely normal, which is great, but also doesn't always work this way. And those bloggers and like pseudo psychologists for me who would say that, well, if you're dissatisfied, the problem is in your partner. It's just so focused on dissatisfaction and on things that you don't like that it's easy to kind of lose sight of the things that you actually like. And if you've been with this person for quite some time, there are things that you like, just it's so easy to forget them or not think about them. Another large-scale study, including over 11,000 couples, found that some of the strongest predictors of relationship satisfaction weren't about big gestures and flawless communication. They were about how these people felt in the relationship. Did they feel appreciated? Did they believe that the partner was committed to them? Did they feel safe and seen even during conflict? Because you are in a relationship, you should be fighting together on one side against the problem and not against each other. In other words, it's not just about the reality of the relationship, but about how we experience it. You could have the partner who says all the right things, but if you don't feel really understood or valued or respected, it won't really matter. The same, at least for me, if the partner brings you and surprises you with amazing gifts, and every time you have a fight then brings you flowers and apologizes, it can be really nice and cool. At the same time, if you don't have a deeper connection, you don't understand each other really, truly, I don't think it would really matter that much. You can write in the comments what you think about this. I'm not a psychologist, we're just figuring things out here. This also brings us to a little interesting nuance that this Kohler and Ort study found. The decline in satisfaction over time isn't the same for everyone. Women on average tend to feel these changes more sharply than men. So if your partner is a female, you should not ignore when she's dissatisfied. And also this drop is essentially steeper in younger relationships and in younger couples, often because the expectations are higher and there are a lot of life transitions like school, career stress, universities, moving in together for the first time, etc. It really adds a lot of pressure. So if you're in your early 20s and if you're a female, or you're just starting a serious relationship for the first time, that dip in satisfaction can feel overwhelming or even like a red flag, when in reality it might just be a part of the adjustment process. Which brings us full cycle. Yes, communication matters, but what matters just as much or even more is how emotionally safe, valued, seen and respected and understood you feel over time. It often requires good communications, good conversations. It takes presence, it takes curiosity and continuous effort from both sides. Part 4. The pressure of life transitions. Relationships don't exist in vacuum. They're consistently being sharp, sometimes shaken by what's happening outside of them. Career shifts, moving cities, studies, aging parents, mental health struggles, and one of the biggest transitions in life, becoming a parent. A lot of couples and people in general fall into this trap of thinking that having a kid will save their marriage, it will bring them closer, it will shake things up, it will make things better, or it will fix the distance that you have or the arguments or emotional disconnection. But research, especially this one by Buchler and Ort, parenthood is one of the most stressful transitions a couple can go through, especially if their relationship is already fragile. Sleepless nights. The whole pregnancy experience is very complicated because of the hormones, because of other things that might influence the intimacy between the two, etc., etc. Financial pressure, postpartum, often unequal division of power. Women often do much more at home than men. They don't magically resolve conflict. On the contrary, it's not just about babies. It's about major life changes in general, like moving in together, changing jobs, changing cities together, promotions, illness, aging, all tend to correlate with relationship satisfaction. Why? Because we're forced to adapt, and not everyone adapts at the same pace. One person might grow while the other stays still, or both parents change but in opposite directions. But the thing that I've learned through my personal experience is that these transitions don't necessarily have to break a relationship. They just require more awareness and communication and a conscious effort that you want to grow together instead of growing apart. If you're with someone for a long period of time, eventually you will experience some life changes. You will maybe move, or you will move in, or move to another city, or change jobs, or have a kid. So how does one last? The ones that last, they don't avoid the change. They move through it together with empathy, openness, and mutual respect. Again, this doesn't mean that you will stay together forever or that eventually you will not break up. So why do 90% of people break up? Not because of one big betrayal, but because of slow, unmet emotional needs, shifting expectations, and unspoken fears. Because we expect love to be effortless. Because we panic when the initial high fades, and we assume that trip means we're not meant to be. The relationships aren't static, they're living systems. They require regular tending, like a garden. And while no one study can explain every breakup, what research shows us is that long-lasting relationships don't come from finding the perfect person. They come from two people willing to face the imperfect moments together. So if you're in a relationship right now or recovering from a breakup, I hope this gave you something interesting to think about. I have a question for you. Do you believe in the one? Do you believe that you are meant to be with just one person? Let's talk about this in some of the next videos. And also, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a little like down below. Share your thoughts in the comments. Anyway, my name is Natalie. Thank you a lot for watching, and we'll see each other very soon. And please subscribe to this channel if you're new. I would also very appreciate that. Bye bye.